Good evening, everyone. Tonight's shiur Lilu Nishmat Avi Mori Dober Meir Ben Numan Halevi Imi Marati Rachel Bat Harav Michael. And this Shabbos we have the privilege of reading parshat Balak, which is a very interesting parsha in the sense that if it were not recorded in the Torah, we would have had no idea this had even happened. And I think that it really is just the overriding lesson of this parsha. Very simply, is that Hashem protects Am Yisrael even when we don't even realize He's protecting us. I think that's key to understanding this parsha, and we're going to talk primarily about uh, Bil'am's third message to Balak, which is chapter 24. Chapter 24, verses 5 through 9 in Sefer Bamidbar, which begins with perhaps one of the better-known verses of Balak's statements of Matov Olecha Yaakov Mishkanotecha Yisrael. I'm going to first just read it through, and then I'm going to, rather than trying to translate it myself, because it's poetry, I'd rather give you a variety of translations and go read through one of them that are available in English. So I'm going to just first read it. Matov Olecha Yaakov Mishkanotecha Yisrael. Ki nechalim nitayu keganot alei nahar, kalim nata Hashem karazim alei mayim. Yizal mayim midol yav, v'zaro b'mayim rabim, v'yaro me'agag malko, v'tinasei malchuto. El motzio mitzrayim ketofot re'im lo, yochal goyim tzarav, v'atzmotem yigoreim, v'yichitzav yimchatz, karashachav gariu chlavim yikimenu, v'rachecha baruch, v'orarecha arur. So I pulled out a variety of translations, but they're all pretty much parallel. I'm going to read the middle one, which happens to be from Aryeh Kaplan's Living Torah. So it's basically, how good are your tents, Jacob, your tabernacles, Israel? They stretch out like streams, like gardens by the river. They are planted like aloes that God has planted, and like cedars by the river. His dipper shall overflow, his crops shall have abundant water. When their kingdom is established, the king shall be greater than Agag. Since Hashem brought them out of Egypt, they are like his highest expression of strength. God shall devour his enemy nations, grinding their bones and piercing them with his arrows. Israel crouches like a lion, like an awesome lion. Who will dare rouse him? Those who blessed you are blessed, and those who curse you are cursed. And that's from Rabbi Kaplan. If you go through the Stone Chumash translation or the Hirsch translation, they're fairly similar. But again, because it's poetry, you get all sorts of trying to understand what is really going on here. I mean, okay, we can understand the literal words, but now we got to try to understand what's the meaning behind them. So we're going to go first, as usual, to Rashi. Now, Rashi begins with the concept of matovu halecha, that Bil'am is looking at something. We read in the Pesukim before that he's looking out on the camp of Israel, and he sees something unique about the way their tents are aligned and the way their whole encampment is set up. And Rashi says the following, again, quoting the Gemara, Al Shara Pitchayim She'ena Mechuvanim Za Mul Za. What he saw was that the openings to their tents were specifically not aligned, one opening directly opposite the other, so that one could not see into the other tent, so that your opening of your tent was opposite a wall of somebody else's tent. That you could not inadvertently see into the other person's tent. And that's why he says, wow, look at this, is a great idea, not to be so nosy that you're looking in and trying to figure out what everybody else is doing. Now, Mishkanotecha, then it says, Yaakov, Mishkanotecha, Yisrael, Mishkanotecha, Rashi says, is Chaniotecha, your encampments, which is the way Targum explains it. Davar Acher, and then Rashi, having quoted the simple translation of that Bil'am was responding to the layout of the tents in the Israeli camp, goes in a different direction. He goes in a more prophetic direction, if you will. Davar Acher, another interpretation of this verse is, Matovu alecha, how good are your tents? Matovu ohel Shiloh, ubeit olamim b'yishuvam, how good is the Mishkan when it was erected in Shiloh, and the Beit HaMikdash when they are established, when they are functioning. Shemakrivin bahen karbanot lechaper aleim, that through these tents and Am Yisrael achieves atonement through the offering of karbanot, which helps bring them closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through and achieve atonement and closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then he says, Mishkanotecha, he refers to them as Mishkanotecha. Why are they your dwelling places? Why Afkeshein Charevin? Even after they have been destroyed. Mashkon Olam. Why are they called Mishkanotecha? Rashi said the word Mishkanotecha, even though it means your dwelling places, it is an allusion to the fact that they are a pledge. They are taken as a pledge for you, the Churbanan Kapara Nefashot, that through the destruction of these sanctuaries, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is able to pour out his wrath on Am Yisrael instead of destroying Am Yisrael. Shnemer Kilo Hashem et Chamato, as we have a pasuk in Echad that says Hashem poured out his wrath completely on the physical structure. Uvamek Kola, and what did he destroy? That Hashem through the fire destroyed the Beit Hamikdash, the physical building, but because of that, Am Yisrael is able to survive. That Hashem takes out his wrath not on the people themselves entirely and destroying them, but by destroying their dwelling and habitation and throwing them out of Eretz Yisrael. So Bil'am, even in his curses, is alluding to Hashem's anger at Am Yisrael, even in his blessing, according to Rashi. Kinachalim nitayu, as wadis, they stretch forth. What does it mean that they stretch forth? That they go out at a length and they continue to provide nourishment even at a distance. Amar Rabotenu, Chazal tell us, and this Gemara in Sanhedrin says that that from the blessings that Bil'am gives to Am Yisrael, we see what he was really thinking in terms of wishing to curse them, because that was what he really wanted to do. Kisha Amar, as it says in the beginning, that really he looked at, his face was facing the desert. He wanted to curse Am Yisrael, but because the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us that every bracha, every klala that he wished to make, Hashem turned into a bracha by changing the wording slightly. Ahalim is ketargumo, like lashon marva ahalot. Now there's two things. Ahalot means a spice, but here it also means a tent, and Rashi says it means both of these things really. Nata Hashem, like the spices that Hashem planted began Eden. Lashon acher, another interpretation of that says like tents that Hashem, which can be translated Hashem stretched forth tents, also can be spices. Lashon acher kol libna ta Hashem kishamayim hametuchim ka'oel. Like this, another literal expression would be like the tents that are stretched forth, just like the heavens are spread forth like a tent covering the earth. Nata Hashem. Nata Hashem means Hashem literally planted. Lashon neti'ah matzinu bo halim. We have other places where the verb nata, to plant, is used together with a tent. No, he planted the tents. No, the word nata is used to pitch a tent, even though normally nata means to plant. But here in our verse and in other places, it refers to pitching a tent. Midol Yav, from his buckets, Mi Be'erotav, literally Rashi says from his wells, Be'erushu Kitar Gumo, V'zar'o B'mayim Rabim, and he will be blessed with, his seed will be blessed with multitude of water. Lashon Hatzlacha Huzeh. This is a language of plenty of success. Kizera Hazarua Al Panei Hamayim, like seeds that are planted in a field that is well watered, in an area where there's lots of water provided, they will grow successfully. That's what Vizara Maimarim means. His offspring will also be successful, just like seeds that are planted by water. V'yarom me'agag malko, and his king will be stronger, will rule over Agag. Melech, Rashi translates this literally as Melech Rishon Shalem, as a prophecy that their first king, Yichboshet Agag Melech Amalek, will conquer Agag, the king of Amalek. Batinasei Malchuto, and his rulership of Am Yisrael will be exalted. Shel Yaakov, the kingdom of Yaakov, Yoter v'Yoter, will continue to grow after they are able to defeat Amalek. Sheyavo acharav, because after the first king of Shaul, Yavo David Ushlomo. David and Shlomo will rule after him, will be great kings, and they will have great prosperity and success in their days. So again, Rashi is taking this verse strictly as a prophecy of the first temple period, where Shaul will rule, David will rule, Shlomo will rule. Kel Motziah Mitzrayim, Hashem took them out of Egypt. Mi Gorem Lohem Agdola Azod. Who is it who caused all of this greatness to flow to Am Yisrael? Is this Kel HaMotziah Mitzrayim, Hashem who took them out of Egypt? And with his great power and might, he will destroy the nations who are his enemies. And here refers to both Hashem and Am Yisrael, because we know that the enemies of Am Yisrael are the enemies of Hashem. The atzmotehem, their bones, he will grind. Atzmotehem, which bones will he grind? Shel tzarim, those who oppress Am Yisrael, who wish to fight against Am Yisrael. And Yigarem. Now, Yigarem here is translated above, was translated as crush, and he says that's Rashi's also translated. It means to break, to smash one's bones. Again, similar psukim where this same verse of Gimel Reish Mem refers to breaking of something. Rashi, however, says, even though his source Menachem said, Menachem said this word Yigarei means to break. Aniomer lashon etzemu. It's a noun shemigarer harbasar b'shinav isaviv, that one drags the flesh with his teeth from around the bone, and then he sucks out the marrow, and through that he strains. Yigarei means to pull all of the life force out of the bone. So by removing the bone from the flesh and pulling all of its life force, the marrow from inside it, you have now basically denuded the bone. That's what Rashi says Yigarei means, to completely denude the bone. The chitzav yimchatz, and his arrows he will turn away. Onkelos targem, who is the referring to chitzav shel tzarim, the arrows of the enemy he will turn away. Chalukah shelahem, their strength, kimol balei chitzim. It means their strength, the strength of the enemy will be turned away. Balei chitzim, mari pelukta. That means those that come to fight against us. Those that come to fight against us are balei chitzim, the owners of arrows, or the owners of strength. The chen yimchatz, it will to be destroyed. Lashon umachza v'chol farakoto, it will be crushed, and his forehead will be smashed. Sheyachatzu et artzam, that they will destroy their land. They will divide the land. They will conquer, and then they will divide the land. The yesh liftar, but there are others who want to interpret this as lashon chitzim mamash. Really, it is a lush. This chitzav yimchatz is referring to actual arrows. Chitzav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the arrows of Hashem yimchatz b'damav shel tzarim, will strike against and draw blood from the enemies. Yitbol v'yitztaba b'damam literally means they will be dipped and be colored in the blood of the enemies. That order your feet should be walking through the blood. But it doesn't change it from the language of hitting somebody, of destroying somebody. As though machatzi v'ani arpa, another pasuk, shatavua bedam nira ki'ilu machutz ve'nagua. Somebody who is stomped on the blood of his enemies looks like he's somebody who's been harmed because he's got blood. Kara shachav ka'ari kitarguma. What does that mean? He crouches like a lion. Yityashvu bi'artzam bekoach ugvura. That Am Yisrael will be able to live in strength and in power in their land. They will be successful in their land in conquering it and living there. So all of this is included in Bil'am's bracha to Am Yisrael. All of these wonderful things. They'll destroy their enemies. They'll be successful in growth. And Rashi seems to be taking most of this passage to the Bayit Rishon period, the period of the Malachim, of Shaul, David, Shlomo, and that period of time as a direct prophecy. Others look at it in a slightly different way. Okay, Sforno. Again, Sforno has the same thing. Matovu Alecha Yaakov. What do the tents refer to? The tents refer to Batei Midrashot, houses of study. Ke'inyan, as we see, Yoshev Ohalim. By Yaakov Avinu, it says Yaakov Ishtam Yoshev Ohalim. Yaakov was living in the tents. Uke'inyan Vayishkon B'Alei Shem. When Noach gives a bracha to Yefet, he says Yishkon B'Alei Shem. He should dwell in the tents of Shem. Again, well, there it means the tents that are studying and learning Hashem's ways of how to live in this world. And similarly, we find earlier in Sefer Shemot, whoever would seek Hashem would go out to the place called Ohel Moed. Again, all of these things connect Torah to the concept of being studying, that we study in a tent, a makom of study. Mishkanotecha, however, Mishkan, which is again a tent, is something temporary that moves from place to place. A Mishkan is something that is built in, located in the same place, and this refers to Batei Knesiot, Umitashay, El Hamuchadim L'Shakein Shemosham. These are permanent structures, or at least solid structures that stay in the same place. Beit Knesset and the Beit Hamikdash, which are set aside for Hashem's presence, for us to recognize that we are in the presence of Hashem. Ulekabel tfilat hamitpalalim, and to accept the tfilot of those who come there to daven. The Omar, and what did Bil'am say? Matovu, why are they good? Kilo bilvadei mitivim li'os kimbam. Not only do they give reward to those that are involved in establishing them and working to make sure that they are maintained, they bring goodness to the entire nation. That this reward of Yaakov will remain at the end, and even after all is said and done. It will never end. That there will always be some Beit Knesset, some Batei Knesiot for Am Yisrael to come closer to Hashem. Shem Yisrael, that like the name Yisrael refers to, as the angel says to Yaakov when he gives him this name, L'sharer im Elohim im Anoshim, to struggle with God and with people, and again to be successful. That Yisrael means that you are struggling in your life, you are working to come closer to Hashem, and you're able to succeed. Kinachalim nitayu, like as I said, like streams that are stretched out. Ki amnam batei knesiot ubatei midrashot amon Yisrael heim kimo hanechalim, because for the multitude of Am Yisrael, the shuls and the study houses are like streams. Shenatayu el asados, just like the stream flows and brings water to the entire field. Ashkotam v'chein yoshvei ohalim et tovsei Torah. Similarly, those that sit in the tents and study Torah, dolim umashkimi Torah tam lahamon, they are able to draw the Torah out and give it and feed it and water from their Torah to the rest of the people. Similarly, those that come to Shul and Daven, they are like gardens by the river, that will not falter in providing great fruit. As the Chachamim tell us, that we know that Hashem always answers the tefillah of a tzibur that is recited properly and with kavanah in the Beit Knesset. So again, not only the people who are in the shul merit, but all of Am Yisrael, their tefillot are answered wherever they might be, because there is a tzibur in the shul. Now, Yochal Goyim Tzarav, the nation will destroy its enemies. Tfarna says this is La'atid Lavo, Amrav and Akam Yashiv Litzarav. He says this is not a short term, this is a Li'atid Lavo already, Yochal Goyim Tzarav, this prophecy already, the times of Mashiach, and he compares it to the end of Shirat Hazina, which is talking about the times of the Mashiach. Again, similarly, Hashem refers to the arrow, Moshe refers to the same concept of Hashem washing his arrows with blood, when he destroys the enemies of Hashem and Am Yisrael in the Yemot HaMashiach, also referred to in Shirat HaAzinu, same concept. And Bil'am ends with, those that bless you will be blessed. And where do we have that before? As Hashem told Avram, Amnam Seride Yisrael Yihu b'madregat Avram Avinu. Those that remain from Am Yisrael will be at the level of Avram Avinu. Ki Amro Ki Yashuv Hashem lasus alecha l'tov kasher sas alav osecha. That Hashem will, even though you're gone into Galut, the remnant that will stay alive will be as dear to Hashem as the Avot were. So we see lots of different concepts here in this different thing. Now the Orach Chaim is going to explain all of this in a very, very interesting way. So I wanted to go into the Orach Chaim. Ma tov v'lo halecha. What is all the explanation of all of this wonderful poetry? Perish, this is what it means. Lefi sheyesh b'Yisrael kat shekovim itim laTorah. There are two groups in Am Yisrael that he's going to work to talk, say that these psukim are talking about. One group are those that live their whole lives, but they make sure to set aside some time for Torah. However, there's a second group, Kashaot Kimba Yatein Hatkua. There is another group that are involved with it like a peg fixed in the ground. What does that mean? It means that they sit and learn start Torah as their regular occupation. Keneged Bale Itim Amar, for those that are those that go out to the workforce and work, and yet they always make sure that when they're finished with their work, they set aside time for Torah. Those he refers to the tent of Yaakov. Why the tent? Like a tent that is not fixed. A tent is something that's a temporary structure that you go from place to place, you pick it up, you take it down. Concerning those that sit and study on a regular basis all the time, that's their regular daily routine, those he refers to as a Mishkan, something that's a little bit more fixed and permanent. Similarly, we find that Bil'am is talking, according to Rashi, about two different times in Jewish history. Echad shayu bamidbar. Period of time one is when they were in the desert. Shayashem beinehem biohel, that Hashem was among them in a tent. Tichsiv v'asitol ohel ala mishkan. You should make these as a tent upon the Mishkan. That the purpose of the way we relate to Hashem in the desert is through a Mishkan, ukenegda, which is an ohel, a tent, ukenegda amar matov halecha. For the period of time when Am Yisrael was in the Midbar, Bil'am says, "Matov alacha, how good are your tents in your ability to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu." Beit, the second period of time, Shayav b'Yishuv, when they are settled in Eretz Yisrael, Tichsiv Hashem amar lishkon ba'arafel, because when Shlomo inaugurates the Beit HaMikdash, the Tefillah says that Hashem wanted to lishkon, to come and dwell ba'arafel. Ukenegdo amar, concerning this period of time, he says, Mishkanotecha Yisrael, your permanently established place is Yisrael. The Amar Lashon Rabim, and the reason it says, Ohalecha in the plural and Mishkanotecha in the plural, Fishayesh Hadragot Bi Ohel, Ohel Moed, Mishkan, Lifnim and Aprochet, because in each of these places, there are different levels of Kedusha as we get closer and closer to the internal word, the Kodesh Kodashim. Then there's the outer area, and then there's the courtyard area. So in each of these, there are different layers of Kedusha, and that's why it says Ohalecha in the plural and Mishkanotecha in the plural. Let me tell you, like Nechalim. Excuse me, Rav Adi, can you please unmute? There's a lot of background noise. Thank you. Kinechalim nitayu, like streams that stretch forth. Chazal darshu. Chazal explained this to mean because there are many different directions. V'yafshal lefarish hakasuv, and we can explain this verse al derech hakasuv medaber keneged Hashem kitot tzadikim sheba'am Hashem. That these psukim are referring to four different classes of righteous people that exist in Hashem's nation. One, Echadhu, Kishmuel Hanavi. One group of leaders of Am Yisrael are like Shmuel Hanavi. Shaya Misabeb Kol Eretz Yisrael Lamed Yisrael Torah u'Mitzvot, who would do a circuit of the whole country every year to teach people about Torah and Mitzvot. B'chol Shana v'Shana Kom Ramzal, as we saw it based on Psukim and Shmuel, that Shmuel would do a circuit every year of certain areas to teach Am Yisrael Torah. Beit, so that's group number one. Group number two is Kat Tzadikim HaKfuim L'Talmud Torah L'Lmod U'Lelamed U'Laharot Mishpat. There was a second group of individuals who are fixed in their place where they teach Torah and they render judgments. This is the second group, the Sanhedrin, the Gedolah, that sat in the court of the area in the Beit HaMikdash that was set aside for them, that would sit and study all day and pass judgments on any questions that arose. V'hi begeder harishon atzmo, el shemakesh Hashem yavo aleihem mosif alei. Okay, they are similar to Shmuel, who taught Torah to all Am Yisrael, but the difference is that Hashem added, that Shmuel added, not only did Shmuel answer the questions of all those who came to ask questions, but he would also go around and help others by reaching out to them. Whereas the Sanhedrin stayed in its place. You wanted to interact with them, you had to come to them. They didn't go out to meet people. Gimel, the third group, Kad halomedet Torah lishma liatzma. There are those that sit and learn Torah by themselves or in a smaller group, laskil lavin imrei noam, in order to better understand and to go into the depths of the words of Hashem. These are ones who learn only amongst themselves, but they don't go out and teach others, whereas the second group went out and taught others. Okay, Vidala, the fourth group is the fourth is those that support these scholars in their learning, and they go out and they work, and they're able to find their parnasa, collect their earnings, so they can support the Talmidei Chachamim. Ukeneged Dalet Kitot, and concerning these four groups, Amrar Dalet Dimyonim. Bil'am gives four different parallels, different parables. Keneged Kito Shel Shmuel, concerning the groups of people who are like Shmuel, who go out and teach Torah and go around and go out to the people to teach Torah. Amar ki nechalim nitayu, shemosim kenachal ezeh shenotel meimav l'makom lishtot mimenu. So he compares the group like Shmuel who go out and teach Torah like Nechalim. They are like streams that flow forth, that stretch forth, because what do? They bring the water from one place to another place so that the crops can drink from it. So too, this is the group that go out on their own initiative to find those who are looking to study Torah and to reach out to them. Ukeneged katbeit, concerning the second group, amar keganot alei nahar, like this, the streams that flow, the crops that grow on the riverbank. Kegan hazeh shnatur, just like a garden that's already planted. So the second group is compared to a garden that is planted, that anybody who wants to come can come and enjoy this beautiful garden. Or also those that take forth fruit from this garden, and give to those who are distant. So to this group, the second group, the Sanhedrin, that lives in a fixed place in the Beit HaMikdash, all that want to come and listen to hear their Torah are welcome, are invited to come and listen to the deliberations. And the results of their deliberations, the fruit that they provide, also is taken by the listeners and disseminated far and wide. That those that sit and learn from them go out and give water to those that are thirsty for Torah. And similarly it says, because from Yerushalayim, from Zion, all of Torah will go out. So basically, all of their deliberations and all of their teachings go forth. Concerning the third group, those that study alone, they study on their own, but they do not have enough strength to go out and share their learning with others. They don't have that kind of strength. They don't have that ability. What does Bil'am say about them? They are like tents that Hashem has planted. Like Yaakov, who sat alone and studied alone. The Amr Lashon Netiya, it says a language of planting. Kinetiya Hazot, like a planting, like a seedling. Shekol Imit Yashenet, Mosif Sharashim. Longer as it grows older, it adds more roots. Vachiza B'Yanikata, and it adds and becomes stronger, grabs on in its through its root system. It becomes more firmly planted. Kimo Kain, similarly, Lomdei Torah, those that study Torah, Kol Zaman Shema'arich Be'esek HaTorah, the longer one is involved in studying the Torah, Tosif Lish Taresh Nafshoba, his soul becomes more rooted in his Torah study. So that's the third group. And the fourth group, Kineged Kad Hadalid, concerning the fourth group, Amar Ka'arazim Alei Mayim, like cedars who are planted on water. Arazim, that cedars, Remez Lashirei Am, hints at those who are strong and powerful. Balei Koma, that are well known. Balei Koach Gvur Ba'olam Hazeh, that are planted firmly and have strength in the physical world. But they don't provide erez. A cedar tree does not have fruit. They don't learn Torah. They don't learn Torah on their own, but they support those who are learning Torah, which is also a very important aspect of Torah. So the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh says, if we look at these four groups together and put everybody together, Bil'am is sending a bracha and telling us that this is a blessing of applies to all of Am Yisrael, that everybody is included in this blessing. And I've already previously written in many places that the fruit of learning Torah, that is the true fruit. That's the thing that's really called fruit. The ayin, he says, you can look, Mashapirish B'Zohar, that when the Zohar explains the pasuk lo tashdidet eitzah, that when it comes down and says we should not destroy a fruit tree, kimimenu tochel, because that's what you will eat for. Shakatuv romeis, this verse that tells us not to destroy fruit tree, hints at lebal Torah, a student of Torah, shuosa pri, who provides fruit for olam haba. And if you really want to see the whole mamar, you can go there and look at it on that pasuk. The Amar Alei Mayim, and he says that this is on the planted by the water. Shechos kam gam kain hu alei mayim shiat Torah. That their strength is through water, and we know that water is something that Torah is always compared to water. Lefisha machzikim yedei anoshim belomdei Torah halomdim Torah shnim shalul mayim. Because these fruits strengthen the people who study Torah, which is compared to water, and they will benefit from the waters of Torah themselves. Why is that? The one who strengthens those that are studying the Torah by providing sustenance for them and providing for their physical existence, like we know, he gets a share of their reward. The person who supports Torah scholars receives a portion of their reward. And what Bil'am means through all of this statement, Lomar, what the Zohar is referring to in this old statement, Lomar, to teach us, Shekol Yisrael Omdim B'Shoresh HaKedusha Hazot HaTorah, that all of Am Yisrael has a portion in the root of this holy root that we as long as we cling to the Torah, even those who seem to be going out and working, as long as they're working for the sake of living a Torah life, providing for Torah to continue, they also have a portion in this reward. Okay. His water will come from his buckets. This is the intent of Bil'am here is of that water will flow forth. That every Jew received a portion of Torah. And the word morasha hints to this. Don't call this a morasha, one who is betrothed. The Amar Khan, ki kol ma shemitchadshim b'Torah, any new learning that we learn in Torah, himidol yo, it is coming from the buckets of Torah. Mimasha dala dalo Moshe, from what Moshe drew, kol ramuz b'Torah shabiktav. Because all of the things that we learn about in Torah, in the Torah Shebaal Peh, and that we darshan in the Torah, all the ways we look at the Torah, all of those Moshe was able to fathom. And through that, we are revealing new things that were taught to Moshe. The Omar Lashon Dali, and the reason he uses the language of bucket, Lomar, Ki be'erach pina hagdolah, through this great understanding, Asher Atid Hashem ligalot liYisrael b'sof hadorot, through this that Hashem will reveal to Am Yisrael at the end of all the generations, B'mei Melech HaMashiach, in the times of the Mashiach, Shushara Chamishim Shel Binah, which will relate us, will bring us to the 50th level of understanding. Kol Hamem Ted Hein Begeder Delibi Arko. Each one of those is like a drawing that we draw in its worth, that it has to get to 49 before you can get to 50. The Amar Ki Hagam Sha'ato Deli Zera Yisrael, even though now this is what we are striving to grow, that ultimately in the days of Mashiach we will all merit to those that strive to understand the Torah will be able to achieve a greater understanding of Torah, which is the 50th level. And that's why he says the Zaro, this will be planted, those that plant will achieve great water. V'yomar, and similar continuing. He will, his king will be greater than Agag. Kan Gila Malchut Yisrael. Here he reveals the kingdom of Am Yisrael. Hakayemet, that will be established. Chetchila me'Agag shi Malchut Amalek, which began with Agag, which was the kingdom of Amalek. Rishonash Asa Shaul, the first kingdom of Am Yisrael was Shaul. Umisham Nifseka Malchut Shaul v'natno l're'eu atov shu David. And ultimately, Shaul, the kingdom is taken from Shaul and given to David. The Tam Shekinat Chalat Malchuto Agag. The reason he hints that they be at Shaul through you mentioning Agag. Le'ir Sibat Hadavar Shaya Mitzad Agag. He wants to explain to us what happened because of what happened with Agag. The fact that Shaul did not kill Agag, which was part of his failure in the war of Amalek, is why the kingdom was taken from him and given to someone else. And because of Agag's survival, that is what caused Shaul to be removed from the kingship, and it was passed to David. The Tinasei Malchuta, however, that his kingdom shall be great, he Malchuta HaMashiach, this is referring to the Malchut of the Mashiach, to David, who is David. Dichsiv Yavdi David Melech Alayhem, that David, my servant, will rule on them. Yarom V'Nisa Me'od, he will be greatly exalted. Kamur Ve'Yeshaya, as it says in the Navi, that David and his offspring, Melech HaMashiach, will be recognized by all ultimately. Od Yeratzeh B'Amra. Furthermore, Bil'am wants to say through this pasuk, the Yaroma me Agag, that it will be greater than Agag, Shetchilat Peulat Melech HaMashiach. The first duty of the Melech HaMashiach, Hi Melchemet Amalek, is the war against Amalek. Shekol Amalek, any Amalek, Bami Agag Kiyadua, comes from Agag, as we know. The Amru Zal and Chazal tell us the following. Gemara itself says, Hashem says the pasuk, Shamar Hakadosh Baruch Hu Ein Hakisei Shalem Ad Shimacha Zera Amalek V'Tinasei Malchuto Kol Olam. Hashem's kingdom will not be complete until The Zecher Amalek, the remembrance of Amalek, what Amalek stands for, is destroyed from the world, and then only then can Hashem's kingdom stretch forth upon the whole world. One more thought about the Orach Chaim tells us. Perish al derech Amram Mizal. Why does Bil'am reference Hashem taking the Am Yisrael out of Egypt? Perish al derech Amram Zal. This is explained as the Chazal tell us. Yisrael mi Mitzrayim. Because when Am Yisrael left Mitzrayim, excuse me, can I ask everybody to please mute? There's a lot of background noise. If everybody can please mute. Thank you. It's everybody, please mute yourself. There's a lot of noise in the background. It's very distracting. Thank you. Perush al derech omram zal. This is explained as we say. Kibitzeit Yisrael b'Mitzrayim. When Am Yisrael left Egypt, beru kol nitzotze hakidosha shel klipat Mitzrayim. All of the holy sparks that were buried in Egypt left Egypt with Am Yisrael. Ukvar that the ultimate goal of Kedusha, of holiness, is when all of the holy sparks are sifted out and selected. Who amro motzio, that, and Bil'am tells us they were taken out. That they were taken out as the people. The lazeh gam kain ramaz. That's what he was hinting at. B'mamar yochal goyim tzarav. That's what it says when Bil'am says that the nation will eat its enemies. Shachilahi. Why do we eat our enemies? Why is it compared to eating? Lotzini tzot hakedosh shabo. That we have to eat it to remove the holiness in it, to retrieve the holiness in it. We have to destroy it and eat it. And then through that it will be included in the holiness of Am Yisrael. As the pasuk says in Mishlei, the righteous eat to satisfy themselves, satisfy their souls, so that they continue to serve Hashem. And their bones perish. Even the things that strengthen them, we will have to destroy. Again, all of these things are references to taking the holiness that is in each of the nations and restoring it to its original place so that Hashem's presence can be seen throughout the world. I'm going to stop here because it goes on a lot longer, but I realize my time is it's already getting late. So the fact is that, as I said, Orach Chaim HaKadosh here is taking the end of Bilam's prophecy to refer to Yemot HaMashiach, even though originally at the beginning he's referring to Malchut Beit David. In the end, he's referring to Melech HaMashiach, as many of the Parshanim take this to refer to. And again, this is one of the things about poetry and why Parshat Balak is such a challenging parsha, because anytime we're dealing with poetry, there are so many different interpretations, possible interpretations, all of which fit in with the imagery and the language of the wording of the original parsha. So I'm going to stop here and I'll open up for questions, comments, or feedback. Any questions or comments? Okay. If not, Rita, you got a question?
Yeah, I do. How does it relate to the learning that we do today, as far as, when they say that people are studying in yeshivot and they shouldn't go into the army? And
I'm going to hold off 1 minute. I just want to go off the record to answer that. Give me a minute. I'm going to stop the recording.